It is the middle of summer. You walk out to your tomato plants in the morning while the air is still cool and you stop. You stand there. Because these plants, they are beautiful, tall, taller than your children, thick and dark green, leaves reaching in every direction, full of stem, full of life. You watered them, you pulled the weeds, you tied them up before the storms came. You did everything a good gardener should do. And then you go looking for the tomatoes, a few small green ones hiding deep inside the shade, a dozen, maybe 2 dozen, on a plant that should have given you 50. And down at the bottom, the leaves are starting to spot, little brown circles with a yellow ring around them. Disease, creeping up from the soil, slow and patient, like an old enemy. So you walk back to the house and you ask yourself the same question every gardener has asked: what did I do wrong? My friend, let me tell you something my grandfather told me 60 years ago on a small plot of cold ground in the north, where the summers are short and a wasted plant is a wasted season. He looked at me and he said, "The young gardener gives the plant everything. The old gardener knows what to take away." And that is the secret I want to share with you today. The answer to your empty tomato plant is not more, it is less. You must take more off the plant, not give it more. I know, it sounds backward. Stay with me because by the end of this video you will understand exactly which cuts to make, on which plant, at which time, including one final cut at the end of the season that the old folks knew, that can ripen 20 or 30 extra tomatoes you thought you had already lost. Most modern gardeners have never heard of it. You are about to. So let us begin. Here is the first truth, and it is a hard one to accept. A tomato plant left to grow exactly the way nature wants it to grow will not give you the harvest you are dreaming of. It will give you a big, beautiful green bush, 100 little side branches, a dark, tangled, crowded middle where the sun never reaches, and a modest handful of fruit hidden in the shade where you cannot even find it. Why? Because the plant is not trying to feed you. The plant is trying to survive. It wants to spread in every direction, to throw out as many branches as it can, to make a few seeds and continue its line. That is the plant's plan. It is a good plan for the plant. It is a terrible plan for the gardener. The wise gardener does something the plant would never do on its own. He removes the side branches before they steal the plant's strength. He clears the lower leaves before the soil can splash disease onto them. And at the very end, he cuts off the top, so the last energy of the season goes into ripening fruit instead of growing new branches that will only freeze and die. Same seed, same soil, same water, but twice the fruit, ripened earlier with far less disease. This is one of the oldest pieces of garden wisdom there is. My grandmother knew it, her mother knew it, and somewhere along the way the world forgot it, or learned the wrong version. Today I'm going to give you the right one. Now, before you make a single cut, you must answer one question because everything depends on it. What kind of tomato are you growing? There are 2 great families of tomatoes, and they are pruned in completely opposite ways. Prune the wrong one the wrong way, and you will destroy your harvest instead of growing it. So listen carefully. When you buy your plants in spring, the label tells you one of 2 words: determinate or indeterminate. Strange words. Let me make them simple. A determinate tomato is a bush tomato. It knows when to stop. It grows to about 4 or 5 feet, sets all of its flowers in a short window, ripens almost all its fruit within 2 or 3 weeks, and then it is finished. Done. This is the tomato for the family that wants one big harvest all at once, for making sauce, for filling jars, for the pantry. Roma, San Marzano, Celebrity, most of the paste tomatoes, these are the bush type. An indeterminate tomato is a vining tomato. It does not know when to stop. It keeps climbing, keeps flowering, keeps making new fruit, getting taller and bushier all summer long until the frost finally kills it. In a good season, one of these plants can climb 8, even 10 feet and give you 100 tomatoes or more, a few at a time, from midsummer all the way to autumn. This is the tomato for fresh slices on the table, for sandwiches and salads, for giving baskets to the neighbors. Brandywine, Cherokee Purple, beefsteak, most heirlooms, and almost all the little cherry tomatoes, these are the vining type. And what if the label is long gone, lost in the mud back in spring? Do not worry, the plant itself will tell you. In the middle of summer, look at the very top tip of the main stem. If the tip has turned into a flower bud, with no new leaves growing above it, that is a determinate plant. It has reached its end. But if the top keeps pushing out new leaves, climbing higher with no sign of stopping, that is an indeterminate plant, still hungry, still growing. Both kinds need pruning, but they are pruned very, very differently. Remember that. Now let me show you the body of the plant so you know exactly what you are cutting. Every tomato plant has 4 parts, and once you can name them, the pruning becomes simple. First, the main stem. This is the trunk, the spine, running straight up the center of the plant. On a young plant, it is thin and soft. On an old plant, it is thick and woody, like your thumb. Second, the leaves. They branch off the main stem all the way up. Now hear me, leaves are good. Each leaf is a little factory, catching sunlight and turning it into food for the plant and sugar for the fruit. You want most of your leaves. We do not cut leaves for fun. Third, the flower clusters. These also grow off the main stem, usually starting about a foot up from the ground. These flowers become your tomatoes, so you never cut a flower cluster. Never. Guard them with your life. And fourth, the part that causes nearly all the trouble, the sucker. A sucker is a small new shoot that grows out of the little angle where a leaf meets the main stem. I call it the armpit of the plant. A sucker is not a leaf, it is not a flower cluster, it is an entire new branch trying to begin, a whole second tomato plant sprouting from the side of the first. If you leave it alone, it grows into a full second stem, with its own leaves, its own flowers, its own suckers, all fighting your main stem for water, for food, for sunlight. To find a sucker, look at that little V where a leaf joins the trunk. If you see a new shoot growing out of the V at an angle with tiny leaves of its own, that is a sucker. When the plant is young, the sucker is soft, and you can pinch it off with 2 fingers. When the plant is older, it turns woody, and you need a clean, sharp pair of shears. The whole art of pruning tomatoes is simply this: knowing which suckers to take and which to leave, and that depends entirely on which family of tomato you are growing. So let us do them one at a time. First, the determinate, the bush tomato. This one is easy, a small amount of work. Remember, a bush tomato has a fixed amount of growth in it. It will reach its size, set its flowers, and stop. So if you start cutting away the upper suckers, you are cutting off the very branches that would have carried fruit. That is how people ruin their harvest without knowing it. So here is the rule, and it is short. Find the first flower cluster on the main stem, usually about a foot, foot and a half off the ground, and remove only the suckers that grow below it, the lowest 6 or 7, that is all. Why the bottom ones? Because down there, near the soil, is where the disease lives. When the rain hits the ground, or when you water, the soil splashes up, and it carries sickness onto the lowest leaves and stems. The lower a shoot sits, the more likely it is to get infected. So by clearing those bottom suckers, you lift the whole plant up off the dirt, you open a gap, the air flows underneath. The lower leaves dry quickly after the rain, and the disease can no longer climb. One small secret though, and the university gardeners proved this one true in their trials. The single sucker just below the first flower cluster is unusually strong. That one you keep. Let it grow into a second fruiting branch, and you will see a real bump in your harvest. So, take the lowest 6 or 7, keep the strong one just below the first flowers, and leave the rest of the bush alone. With a determinate plant, heavy pruning costs you fruit. A light hand at the bottom is exactly enough. Now the indeterminate, the vining tomato. This is the bigger job, and this is where most gardeners lose the battle. A vining tomato, left alone, will keep growing forever. By late summer, it becomes a jungle, 8 feet tall, 200 suckers, each one trying to become its own plant, the inside dark and damp and crowded, the perfect home for disease, and the fruit that does come is small because the plant has spread its strength across far too many growing points. So with a vine, you must make a decision early and then hold to it. You decide how many main stems, how many leaders you will allow. 1 leader. You keep a single main stem and remove every sucker, all of them. All the strength goes to that 1 stalk. You get the biggest individual tomatoes, the easiest plant to tie and tend, but a slightly smaller total harvest. This is how the greenhouse growers do it. 2 leaders. You let that one strong sucker, the one just below the first flower cluster, grow into a second main stem. 2 stalks, a larger total harvest, fruit still a good size, still easy to support. This is what most careful home gardeners choose. This is what I choose most years. 3 leaders, 3 stalks, the largest harvest, but smaller fruit, harder to hold up, more crowding. Only for those with strong cages and plenty of room. Whatever number you pick, 1, 2, or 3, you stick with it. And then, once a week, you walk the row. You find every new sucker that has appeared in those little armpits, and you take them all, except the leaders you chose to keep. Once a week, a few minutes, that is the whole discipline. Now, a few words on doing it well, because the small things matter. When a sucker is young and soft, a few inches or less, pinch it off with your fingers. Take it between your thumb and finger and break it gently to the side. The plant heals from a pinch in no time. When a sucker has grown long and woody, do not pinch it, you will tear the stem. Use small, sharp shears. And here is a rule the old folks never broke. Wipe your shears clean between every plant with a rag dipped in vinegar or alcohol. Tomatoes carry disease from plant to plant on dirty blades. This is the #1 mistake I see. A clean tool stops a sick plant from infecting its healthy neighbor. And the timing. Prune in the morning of a dry, sunny day, never in the rain, never in the damp evening. In the sun and wind, the little wounds dry shut within the hour, and disease cannot enter. Pruning in wet weather is how a careless gardener spreads sickness through his whole patch in a single afternoon. One more thing for both families. As the plant grows past 2 or 3 feet tall, keep removing the lowest leaves, any leaf touching the ground or close to it. Those are the leaves the soil-borne disease reaches first. Clear them. Let the plant breathe from below. And now, the cut I promised you, the one most modern gardeners have never heard of, the final cut. In the last weeks of summer, when the nights turn cool and the first frost is only 3 or 4 weeks away, your vining tomato is still trying to grow, still pushing out new flowers, still setting tiny new green tomatoes at the top. And here is the cruel truth. Not one of those late flowers, not one of those tiny green fruits, has enough time left to ripen before the frost kills it. Every drop of energy the plant spends climbing higher in those final weeks is energy stolen from the green tomatoes already on the vine, the ones that could still turn red if only the plant would stop. So you stop it. For its own good, you cut off the top. We call this topping. About 3 or 4 weeks before your first frost, take your clean shears and cut the very top off every vining plant, the growing tip and any new flower clusters from the last week or 2. Cut hard. Take a foot off if you must. You are not being cruel. You are telling the plant gently but firmly, the season is over, ripen what you have, and the plant listens. Within days, all the strength that was pouring into new growth now flows down into the unripe fruit on the vine. The green tomatoes you had given up on begin to blush, pink, then red. In late September, a top plant can ripen 20, 30 extra tomatoes that would otherwise have rotted on the frost. Hard, late, and worth far more than you would believe. And one last small gift before you go. When you pinch off a sucker in early summer and it is too big to throw away with a clear conscience, don't. Set it in a glass of water or push it an inch deep into damp soil in a small pot. Keep it warm and shaded a few days. Within 2 weeks, that little sucker grows its own roots and becomes a whole new tomato plant. Same variety, same strength, free. The tomato stem can grow roots anywhere along its length, one of nature's quiet little miracles, and a gift to every gardener who pays attention. So now you know what the old folks knew. 2 families of tomato, each pruned its own way. Small cuts that turn a thin plant into a heavy one. Lower leaves cleared to keep disease away. Clean tools, morning timing. The final cut that ripens the harvest you thought you had lost. And free plants from the things you would have thrown away. So tell me down in the comments, what kind of tomatoes are you growing this year? And have you been pruning them or letting them run wild? And one more. What is the tomato your family has always grown? The one your mother or grandmother loved best? Those old names are exactly the kind of knowledge that disappears when no one writes it down. Share the variety. Share the story. I read every one. And if this helped you, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe so the next time we walk out to the garden together, you are right here with me. Until then, walk the row, find the suckers, and trust that the plant grows better fruit when a careful hand takes a little away. That is how the old folks did it.